Welcome to 21st Sports. Week 2 is underway, and we're talking the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans, and their matchup played September 18th, 2016. And this was a low-scoring game, lots of defense, and lots of turnovers early on as the Texans forced 3 fumbles in the first half, and Osweiler also threw an interception. So you had 4 turnovers in the first half. Osweiler would throw another interception later on, but you had 2 turnovers for the Texans, 3 turnovers for the Chiefs, and not a lot of points on the board for either team, as it really was a game of field goals. Of course, the Texans did put the first points on the board with a touchdown. That was actually a result of a fumble that was forced earlier on as J.J. Watt putting on the pressure and recovering the fumble, and then Brock Osweiler turning that turnover into a 27-yard touchdown as he connected with DeAndre Hopkins, and that made it 7-0, and that was the score after the first quarter. And in the second quarter, Cairo Santos got the Chiefs on the board with a 53-yard field goal, and then Novak added a pair of field goals that were set up by those fumbles, as the 3 fumbles forced and recovered as the Texans really getting after the Chiefs. But Novak with a 32-yard field goal and a 24-yard field goal, and that made it 13-3 at halftime. No scoring in the third quarter. Then in the fourth, Santos got the Chiefs back on the board to cut the lead to 1 score with a 43-yard field goal that made it Houston 13, Kansas City 6. But then the Texans came right back with a field goal, as it was the battle of the feet. That's why they call it football. But Nick Novak, 31-yarder, made it 16-6, as it was now a double-digit lead once again. But then Cairo Santos came back with a 35-yard field goal to make it 16-9, back to a 1-score game. But then Novak came back with a 43-yard field goal and was back to double digits at 19-9. But then in the closing minute, Santos hit a 30-yarder to make it 19-12. And then an onside kick attempt failed as Houston recovered, and the Texans hold on to win this one off the strength of their defense and the foot of Nick Novak, as he had 4 field goals in the game. So he had 4 field goals by Novak, the 3 forced fumbles in the first half, which was a franchise record for the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt got his first sack of the season as well. And so the Texans were looking pretty good on defense. Their offense was struggling. Of course, he had the 2 interceptions. Osweiler did, though, come close to 300 yards, 268 yards on the day, 19-33, 1 touchdown. Like I say, he had the 2 interceptions, though. But the Chiefs actually have a pretty good defense, for sure. And then Lamar Miller, 25 carries for 83 yards. He was, eating up some clock with those carries, but not really a big production, but still definitely contributing. And DeAndre Hopkins, 7 receptions for 113 yards and a touchdown. Fuller, 4 catches for 104 yards, as he continues to shine here in his rookie year, as he had a big week last week, and he's over the century mark again here this week. Let me look over at the Kansas City side. Alex Smith, 20 for 37, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He only had 2 yards on the ground of 2 carries. And Shakandrick West, 6 carries for 61 yards. You almost wonder why they didn't get the ball in his hands more. Spencer Ware, 10 carries for 57 yards. He was more getting the touches. Of course, he had that fumble, and that's where then West starts seeing some more touches, but not so much. And then Jeremy Maclin, 6 catches for 68 yards. Ware also had 2 catches for 48 yards to go with his 57 yards rushing, which gave him a total of 105 yards on the day. And we look at Novak actually did miss a field goal, by the way. He was 4 for 5, but those 4 field goals definitely lifted them to victory. Santos was 4 for 4 on the field goals. Novak did have that 1 extra point. But you look at the defense, and Simon, 1.5 sacks and a forced fumble. Demps also forced a fumble as well. And although I don't see them giving credit to Watt, he was right there in the mix of things for that first fumble, and he had 1.5 sacks as well. McKinney also had a sack for the Texans, and both interceptions in this game were by Peters, as he was just really terrorizing Osweiler there. Osweiler learned, don't throw Peters' way. But Tom Bahali, he had a sack, and Johnson had a sack as well. Said not a lot of offense in this game. The defense was just shutting things down on third down, as both teams in the 20 percentile. 3 for 14 for Kansas City, just 21% on third downs. 4 for 15 for the Texans, just 26%. They did, however, convert their one attempt at a fourth down conversion. Even the overall first downs, just 15 to 14 with a slight edge going to the Texans. They also had the edge in yards, 351 to 291. That's total net yards. Although the Chiefs did have more net rushing yards at 119 to 97. And the Chiefs averaged more than twice as many yards per rushing play at 6.3 versus 2.9. Yet they rushed the ball 15 less times. You gotta wonder, why were they not running the ball more? Of course, in the sparing, the little bit of running they did, sometimes that's why they have more success, apparently, per average, because when you're just throwing the ball so much, they're looking throw, and then you get a big run play. But if you were running the ball more, the average would drop off and regress towards the mean, at least you would imagine. Of course, we won't know. We'll see if they adjust, next week. But that Texas defense is ridiculously good, and they played really good today, really shutting down a tough Chiefs team. It was in Texas, but still definitely a very good performance by Houston in this game. Only 5 penalties against the Texans for 44 yards, not bad. 9 penalties against the Chiefs, 77 yards. That hurt them, along with those 3 fumbles, all of which came in the first half. And neither team scored in the red zone. They said it was all about the defense, as the defense turned the red zone into the dead zone. 0 for 2 for Kansas City, 0 for 4 for Houston. So the team's struggling in the red zone. They were getting it down there. The Texans, 4 trips to the red zone, of course, partially courtesy of those forced fumbles early on, put them right there on the doorstep, but they weren't able to enter the house being the end zone. They couldn't get into their home, the end zone. But we look at the time of possession, 33 minutes, 59 seconds, basically 34 minutes for the Texans, 1 second shy of that, and 26 minutes and 1 second for the Chiefs. So it was a tight game, all about the defense and the field goals, some old school smash mouth, hard nosed football. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Which plays and performances stuck out to you? Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.